and how it maybe helped them in college, learning about their process through St. George's, if you have any questions. Really for the IB program, St. George's is an IB World School, just for those of you who have 8th graders or are new. And that means that students have the option of getting an IB diploma in conjunction with a St. George's diploma. All students will get a St. George's diploma, but they have the option of going for what's called the full IB diploma program, where they could get an IB diploma, or if it's not the right fit for everybody in junior and senior year takes IB courses. So what sets it apart is somebody who is a course candidate only in junior and senior year will take the same courses as everybody else. They just won't take the what's called a core, which are 3 additional components to make up the full diploma. I don't know if that makes sense, but it consists of like a theory of knowledge class, which is a philosophy type class. You have to do a specific project for your CAS, which is the community service component of it, and you have to do a 4,000 word extended essay, which you can choose the topic, and then work with a teacher to write this 4,000 word essay. So not everybody chooses to do the full diploma at St. George's, but regardless, everybody takes the IB diploma or IB courses in junior and senior year. So they all test in the exams at the end. It's just the other 3 components qualify you for going for the full, getting the IB diploma. So everybody at St. George's will test in exams. That's the thing that we're doing different now. That is their final exam in senior year. They take these external IB exams. You can get course credit in college regardless if you went to the full diploma or not. It's based on each individual course. There are very few colleges in the United States that give credit for the full diploma, but some do. I've heard it, we had a student, Erin Armitage, who went to a school in Ohio, and she was automatically a sophomore because she had gotten the IB diploma. So it really is college specific. You'll find out from them that it's kind of college specific whether they get, credit for their courses anyway. But for St. George's, we believe in the mission of the IB and the philosophy behind all of the courses, and it's how our teachers are teaching now. So we fully believe in this method and have adopted it. So we brought back some panelists to discuss and answer any questions you might have. I gave each of you a cheat sheet, which is kind of just describes a little bit of what I said. And then also I gave you the handbook. This is this year's handbook. Next year's handbook will look a little different. That we have a music course we're offering next year, so there's a couple of little things that'll be different next year. So I can give you that on demand if you want me to email it to you. It's kind of a work in process. So to start off with, I'll have everybody introduce themselves, say where they're going to college, maybe say what year you are in college and what major you're pursuing.
My name is Isaac Workman. I go to Alumni University. I'm a junior and I'm studying evolutionary biology.
My name is Noah Howard-Lake. I go to Western Washington University. I'm first year and I'm planning on to major in business management and minor in finance.
My name is Alana. I go to the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, and I'm a second year there now, and I study comparative literature and media studies.
I'm Caroline Hammett. I'm a junior at Pepperdine University, and I'm studying French and Econ with a minor in music.
I'm Kate. I am at Wake Forest University and I'm a freshman there, and I'm undecided major but going on pre-med track.
I'm Cece. I go to the University of Notre Dame. I'm a freshman and I'm planning on majoring in finance.
I'm Madison Ward. I'm a sophomore and my major is pharmacy.
At Montana. Anybody have any questions for them?
Probably not. How many of you actually achieved the diploma upon graduation? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of the 700? Is that right?
Well, I actually didn't go for the diploma, so
You didn't go for it.
I didn't go for the diploma.
How many extra hours do you feel between community service project, the essay, and the third deal with obviously the class is a class, so let's just go with the extracurricular piece, not class.
I think we talked about this earlier, and in all honesty, if you compare it to just like a regular St. George's education, like it still is about the same amount of time because it's a college prep school, so no matter what, we would have been doing extra hours and to a certain extent just because of the work. So I don't think IB, if you manage your time well, it's not going to be this big extra thing.
You do have to,
Yeah.
you do have to, the extended essay is a long-term project that you have to work on. And I know, they've kind of changed it. Isaac and I were in the first class that graduated with the IB, and so things have changed a bit since then. But now I know that the core block where they work on those three things, work on the extended essay and pass and theory of knowledge. And so I think it's a little more, they're trying to add more deadlines in to make it less of like a floating project that's kind of moving like one of these folders. It definitely is a little more work, but like pass, it's basically you're just a St. George's student and now you're writing down the things you're doing. Theory of knowledge, it's not too demanding, but it's, you have to write an essay at the end.
And like with the IAs, the papers, I think everyone has to do their not like a diploma.
Yeah.
Teachers are required to give time in class, and then they send an essay, you have that class, and they have changed it a lot, so now you work on it every week, and then you start like the beginning of your junior year, so you can work on a lot during the summer. So I'd say that, yeah, if you plan it out, it's
One cool thing about the extended essay is it's a project that you specialize in a certain category. So I did history and what did you do?
I did science, biology.
But it's actually pretty enjoyable if you find something you're interested in. It varies widely depending on what you're specializing in, but
One of the
I
source
that's
guys,
something I was interested in.
one of the guys who I use for main sources ended up being a professor at my university. So there's all these like cool things that you can actually get out of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't ever think I would when I was writing it. You know, because when you're a student, you're like, oh, I have this 4,000 word essay to do, but there's so many benefits to it that can come later.
I should know this, but how many pages is 4,000 words?
It's like double-spaced.
I couldn't say
They say that 250 words is a page, double-spaced, 12.5. I have looked it up many times. But it's a little off. It's more like 325. So it's probably
I think mine,
16, 20, probably close.
Hundreds of pages.
mine was probably around like 25, but I didn't learn science, so I had a lot of graphs and diagrams and stuff. Because you can do like a lab and then write about
I think a research experiment and
just love it.
I wanted to get some clarification on what would be the benefit of actually getting the diploma versus being a candidate. What would be the major advantage or benefit?
So you apply to colleges as a candidate, and then you don't find out if you got the diploma until July or August after your senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So really, the only benefit to actually getting the diploma is you can get credits in college.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be like in the full diploma program to put your IB diploma candidate on your application. So
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the actual diploma you can't say, but just being able to say you're an IB candidate is
yeah, it's like really helpful.
And colleges know that if it says you're a candidate, that you've done all of the papers and you're doing the extended essay, they know all of the work that you're doing. So it's not necessarily the diploma, but it's the fact that you have to complete all of the steps. So in American schools, like I know some international schools, it's depending on the diploma, but it's just kind of all of the work that goes into it is what they recognize.
And whether or not you get credit is really based on your courses, again, not necessarily the full diploma. So, I mean, some colleges, and that's just, some colleges, same with the AP, some colleges offer credit based on what you get as same as the IB. It's funny up here, so Maddie didn't get it, but got the most credit for her IB courses. And she's in pharmacy school going, you know, to, yeah, so.
I have a friend at UW and she got a lot of credits for getting the diploma, so it's like yes.
Yeah, it's school by school.
The-
Just
the-
happens to be they chose, yeah.
The other thing about being a diploma candidate, it's the most rigorous course that we, or coursework that we offer.
Mhm.
So that's the differentiator as well. So when you're applying to a college and you put in that you're a diploma candidate, we qualify that with, that is our most rigorous
I see.
course.
Which is a college counselor is asked that question on their rec thing. Is this candidate taking the most rigorous course at your school? Then they say yes. Mhm.
I have a question. So, okay, if you're a candidate, what do you have to do to get a diploma? I mean, you can be a candidate, but at the end of the day, you don't get a diploma. So, in order to get a diploma, what do you have to do?
It's based on a point system. So with your 6 classes, you have points ranging from 1 to 7. And then the core with the TOK, the EE, and the TOK and the EE give you up to a certain amount of points. They only give you up to 3 points. And so there's a maximum of 45 points you could get to get to perfect on everything. You have to get a minimum of 24 to get the diploma with some conditions in there. And they're in the handbook, there's a bunch of conditions that it'll explain.
Okay, and so we at St. George's, I mean, the faculty determines if you get a diploma or not.
Oh, no. So, yes, so that's a great question. So with the IB, there are internal assessments that have a certain weight with your full grade at the end, and external assessments. And the external assessments have, are a couple of different things plus your exam at the end of your senior year. So all of those together with your teacher's internal assessments that they submit to the IB pull together to get you a grade. So the teachers here don't determine the final diploma status. It's a combination.
So at the end of the senior year, there's an exam for you actually taking the diploma. So it's an exam of all the subjects.
No, it's one exam per subject.
Yeah, I mean, but then you will be created, the exam will encompass the whole thing.
Yes.
So we can let one of them explain their process through that exam because they're taking different courses, and that might help answer that question in terms of how that is divvied out.
Okay.
Is that,
But I wanted to know, since you actually know that you received the diploma later, down
After you
the road,
graduate, yes.
before you actually apply to college, right? So, can the colleges tell you, okay, we gave you or we offered you this and that because you were supposed to get the diploma, but at the end of the day, you didn't get it. So we are going to take everything away. I mean, can they do that?
I think I can help clarify that question. I've heard certain colleges will rescind their offers, whether it be a total offer or a financial package that they've offered. If you did not receive, this is probably for the 5 that received the diploma, or achieved the diploma, I should say. Is there, out of the 5 of you, was there anybody that it was rescinded, or were there classmates on your graduating class that it may have been rescinded? Does that?
I haven't heard of any schools
No,
that the university.
even in international schools, because we're like, I go to school in Scotland, so, but because of a lot of times American students, like, they want American students, so they're not going to care. They just want to see that you're an Ivy diploma candidate, kind of what we talked about earlier. They would never take the offer back because you didn't get the diploma. What they care about is that you're trying to get that diploma and you're doing all the steps to take action, and so you're trying to do it, you're taking all those courses to do it. Whether you miss it, I mean, some kids will miss their diploma by a point, and it sucks, but they did all the work, so the colleges aren't, they're not going to care.
So,
And no school in the United States will take away.
Exactly.
You get in based on being a diploma candidate or not, it's just however they look at whatever you're doing. They don't take it
Because
away.
your applications are all done, submitted,
You're already in
evaluated as a candidate.
You've been
Yes,
accepted.
nobody has a diploma at the time of applying.
You've been accepted by the time.
I don't even know if it's colleges.
You got to pause it.
Unless they specifically ask to find out.
I don't think
I don't think they are.
Yeah, you don't even have to tell them.
Do colleges actually know your score, or is it just
I don't think
only
so.
if
Specific
it's
or only if they specifically ask.
Alana, did your school ask for your school?
I don't think so. No, I mean, so this is with UK schools, they gave me an unconditional offer, so when they give you an unconditional offer, that means no matter what, like you.
But if you're trying to go for credit, then
Yeah, exactly, and
Right.
you can test out of certain classes and go further.
so at the end of the day, colleges don't care if you get the diploma.
They just care that you tried.
Okay.
To try to achieve.
One thing about
and that's what St. George's cares.
One thing about the IB right now is colleges are still learning to accept courses at taking the place of classes in college. There are a lot of colleges are more lenient accepting AP units, like with lower scores. And so that's just kind of going to take time as more colleges realize the rigor of the IB and adjust their weighting. Because I go to Pepperdine and you can pull up the graph where it says, oh, if you get like a 3 to a 5 on this one exam, then you'll have to take this class. But you have to get a 6 or a 7 on the HLIB exam, which is just not equivalent. It's not right. And so a lot of schools in Oregon have done this for a long time. They're a lot more, they accept a lot more grades, and Washington too, but not as many California schools. And yeah, just kind of, it's a process that's happening right now. So as the younger people at St. George's who are going to go up through this, they're going to have a better,
They're going to want to return.
yeah, than me. Yeah.
I have a question. I have an 8th grader, and so she's going to be like, well, why should I do this? I already have a lot of homework, and I'm really busy, and so would you guys mind going through and telling me why you wanted to do it, particularly when you already had a rigorous caseload of classes at St. George anyway? Why did you personally want to take on this additional work?
And if you do again. No, that's what the same.
And actually, I piggyback.
I'm accepting an admit.
How would it help you as far as when you achieve your goal of getting into college? Which I have another question, we can get back to on that, but to piggyback on with these two questions, how did the courses that you took, and for that matter, the diploma, help you as far as when you reached where you were accepted, and once you got in, how did it help you?
Amanda, you want to go first?
Yes. Because I'm probably going to be sort of talking her into it, because at the beginning she's going to be like,
It's like I feel like it's very similar coursework, whether you're doing the IB or not, because like in the class, you're doing like IB stuff, you do the IAs, the internal assessments, whether you're doing the IB or not, am I right? So like, you're doing a lot of the IB work already, so it's not that much of an addition, I don't think. So like, I would do it again because I did end up getting 10 credits, which helped me get into pharmacy school and stay ahead. So I don't think it's a lot of extra work than you already have at St. George's, and it just helps prepare you for later. And
one big thing we talked about is IB is very focused on writing, and I think we all agree, like, no matter where you go to college, they're going to have you write more, and you're going to have to write in math and in science. And IB really, really prepares you for that. And especially, like, I don't know how many of your kids will want to look at the UK for school, but I didn't have to go to the first 2 weeks of classes because all of it was teaching you how to write based on our curriculum. And they said any IB candidate or diploma person doesn't need to come because they already know how to do it. And so it's almost like when I got to college, I didn't realize how much it was going to help me, but it has helped me immensely in all of my courses in some way or another, the specific IB curriculum.
I think I chose to do it because I wanted to take the most challenging courses, and I knew that would be really important applying to schools, and I wanted to, like, they do hold that if you're a diploma candidate, but I think the biggest benefit you get is when you're in college, you don't really realize it while you're doing it, but you have to write a paper for every class, and that's whether you're doing the full diploma or not. You still have to write a paper in every class, and I have friends who've written math papers and science papers, and they had no idea how to do that, but we've had that experience. And then the big extended essay, just learning how to do a big project. We talked a lot about how college classes are so different, how you go to class 3 times a week and you might have 3 tests that are your whole grade or 3 papers that are your whole grade, so learning how to work on bigger projects. And then coming down to the exam is just the experience of studying long-term for a big exam. I think a lot of my peers struggled a lot come finals week. They were not used to the rigor of having 5 tests in a week and how do you spend a whole week studying for those tests. But I had that experience, and I had to do well on tests to do well in the class. And so I think that it's just the experience of all the different bigger projects and writing papers. It does simulate the college experience. And so I think that at the time you might be thinking, wow, this is a lot of work, and what is this helping me? But I think for all of us, like, once you get to school, you really, really realize how beneficial that experience was overall.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would definitely do it again because, like they said, like the writing was really valuable because honestly, a lot of people, like I took a history class and we had to review here's how to write a thesis and all this, but I've spent so much time doing that at St. George's that it just was like, okay, so like what's next, like trying to brainstorm, and just also like the time management with like balancing out your homework and like learning how to study for long periods of time for like something that's upcoming was really important. And I got like my EE, I was really interested in it, and I like talked about it in my application too, could use that, so that was really valuable.
Yeah, I'm probably going to say most of what they just said. I kind of wanted to do it from the beginning. I really like the idea of the IB as opposed to AP because my year we were transitioning from AP to IB, and they were saying, oh, well, AP tries to test what you don't know, or tries to figure out what you don't know. That's the style of questioning on the test, but the IB lets you show what you do know, because it's very essay-based, which does help a lot in college. And also just in life, because you have to be able to write well, it just helps. Like, be able to communicate yourself precisely and well, and I would definitely read it again. I learned a lot, like we were saying, I enjoyed my extended essay. It was a really cool experience. It was a type of experience. And what were the other questions I would say?
I think you covered the reviews.
So I'm actually the only one out of this group that did not do the IB, did not go for the diploma. Well, didn't go for the diploma, did everything.
But tell them why.
What?
Tell them why.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, and the one thing I would tell you or to ask you and to think about is, like, make sure you have like a reason to not do the IB. Like, if it's just gonna be like you don't want to do a paper, like that's not really a reason. Like, I mean, the reason why I didn't do the IB is because I have ADHD and dyslexia, and so Spanish, I don't really know the details, but when I went to go get tested, they were like, the way you formulate words, like Spanish is really a foreign language, and like you'll never be able to understand it unless you spend like literally every waking hour learning it. And so for me, it was, I wasn't even trying to take ab initio Spanish because I didn't want to go through that. So that's why I didn't go for the diploma. But I still took all IB classes, still did the IAs. The only thing I didn't do was the EE and that core class. So again, like I talked about with other groups, not to dismine or undermine anything that the diploma candidates went through, but I definitely don't feel like I'm behind the bar at all. Definitely still one of the top writers in my English class at college. Definitely have no problem putting out 1,000 words in 30 minutes. Like it's just like no problem doing. Yeah, no problem doing any of the coursework. It just there needs to be a reason. Like my sister didn't do the IB, and I questioned her and like why, and like she gave me an actual reason. I was like, okay, then that's fine. But yeah, make sure it's like a conscious choice because I mean it does help. It does help your case a lot, but if they're just make sure it's a actual decision.
Well, so yeah. I did the IB, so I was the first class who did it, and my dad is the head of school, so I was going to do it no matter what. But I also, at that point, I knew, like I was getting recruited for football, and I knew that the Ivy League was a possibility for me. And I just wanted to take the most rigorous course load because, like, while St. George's is a really hard school, it's really hard to communicate that to schools on the East Coast. And just like being able to check that box that says IB diploma candidate, like shows them that you have been held to a really high standard. And I think it helped.
Helps you stand out.
Yeah.
So, compared to your peers in classes, I mean, do you feel better prepared for college than the rest of them?
Yeah.
Just like writing.
Yeah.
Writing is the biggest thing.
If you compare the IB to the AP as like a way to test students and prepare them for college, I think the IB prepares you much more.
And so, do the faculty or does the faculty recognize that?
They're getting better. It's a trend right now where more and more schools are accepting more and more grades, but it's newer to the United States.
For me, because UK, Europe, it's like they're very big on IB there, so they automatically will. Sometimes in classes, they'll be like, we'll be discussing something, especially when you're analyzing a source from history, something like, IB students, you've done this before, so like if someone's like confused, you can help them. And it's like, I wasn't expecting to ever like be called out like that before, like in a good way, but so they very much recognize IB as a very prepared way, especially from the subjects I do, like history and comparative literature. It's kind of a deeper understanding of it rather than just like reading books and talking about dates and stuff. It's this kind of critical thinking method that you don't get as much in AP.
So what I got to get from my kids is you're pushing us already as top level school to get the best GPAs we can, and now you want to add work. Are any of you guys less than total A students?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because my husband and I were talking to the seesaw of a heavy workload in GPA where the college sitting, are they going to take a 3.4 and an IB, or are they going to take a 3.8 and an AP?
I'll totally be honest with this one because I've never been a 4.0 kind of student. The school that I was going to go to before, St. Andrews, Fordham, is a very good school. It's a Jesuit college in New York City. I wasn't expecting to get in because I had to take econ. The IB somehow made it where I was forced to basically take econ if I wanted to get my diploma, if I wanted to be an IB candidate. So, I talked to Hayes about the econ teacher and my parents, and it was either the decision keep my really good GPA and not get my IB diploma, or take this risk and totally. I did not do very well in econ. I did not get a very good grade. It's probably the worst grade I've ever had in all high school. And I think the fact that I pushed myself and chose to do IB and made more variety actually helped me get into more schools than having a perfect GPA and getting good grades. And in Hayes, I think he uses that with other students too. He was like, well, if you look at Lana, she did not do well in econ. It was never but she got into more schools because I decided to take it. I decided to push myself. I think that's the whole thing at IB. You're taking this chance to push yourself a little bit harder. I think colleges appreciate that more. One of the college counselors earlier was talking about how they love to see you do all this, different types of classes that you're not the same thing over and over again. So I think it actually helps me.
And I think what Noah was saying is really important too, like when you choose to go to St. George's and you're going to be pushed hard, and you still are going to do all of the same classes and write all of the IAs, and so I think that if you are able to, it's not necessarily, it's an essay and a little bit like another class, and so I think that it's not necessarily more work in terms of like the classes, because you still have to, it's still like
they're
the
all
same
IB
class.
So if you're still balancing sports and everything, it's going to feel the same.
I don't
kind
think
of
the
stress.
GPAs is very different
Yeah.
compared to an IB and an non-IB. It's just like that little, and you have a long time to complete the essay, so it's more work, but I didn't feel like my GPA would have been better if I hadn't done the diploma
I
necessarily.
mean, besides econ, yeah, like,
Yeah.
it would probably
Well, you're the only overseas student, correct?
Yeah.
Kind of correct. With that, how much did the IB put into that versus being a U.S. citizen? Did they ask for your SAT and GPA? Because I've heard mixed things on that.
That's a good question. To be honest, if I'm being completely honest, they like American students. They want American students. So that I would have gotten in without the IB, but I'll tell you about my college experience. I didn't think I was going to go to St. Andrews. It was the last place I expected. I was like, I'll throw it in there. Funny, Scotland, whatever. Because I really wanted to go to this, to Fordham or Loyola Marymount in LA, because I was a big city girl, big student, population. And I think, even though it doesn't even matter, it's because I don't think I would have gotten into those other schools based on I might have, but it would have been a lot harder for me too. I would have had to prove myself in other ways, But I think the IB helped me get into all those other schools I applied to, both St. Andrews. Maybe it didn't help me get in, but it definitely has helped my actual experience there. I think I was much better prepared to go to this, because I wasn't expecting it to be such a well-renowned school. Because again, they let Americans in quite much easier than they do the rest of the world. And because it's for Americans, I think it's like a 60% acceptance rate versus other applicants, about 9% acceptance rate. So yeah, you should send your kids there. They want Ivy League education with a better acceptance rate. But it's again, the Ivy definitely prepared me so well for the type of rigor I was doing, and it helped me definitely in my experience, and it helped me get into other colleges. So.
But how much consideration did they place since you went to IB diploma graduate versus what I've heard? If you can confirm or maybe shed some light on this.
I don't know, I think...
The SAT, your SAT and your GPA still plays a huge part on it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So I'm terrible at taking tests, standardized tests like that. So my ACT and SAT scores are quite low. But I think they let me in because of my IB candidacy. They probably would have, maybe offered me conditional or something, but, and my ACT was slightly enough, but I think the IB candidacy and, all the extracurriculars I did and stuff kind of kicked that out of the boot. So if your kid's like me and terrible at standardized tests, because they're not a good measure, but, definitely IB can very much help that, because the testing is much more like you said, it's what you know, and showing I actually am smart, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, one thing, I really like the IB diploma, like I said, I would do it again, and I would encourage people to do it, but like Noah was saying, there are really good reasons not to, just depending on each person. I know one of my good friends at school at Pepperdine, he grew up in Oregon, and his school had IB, but he didn't go for the full diploma, but he was managing a t-shirt business, he was doing all these other things, he was on 2 swim teams, he was it's not the be-all, end-all. You don't have to get the diploma. You can still do the courses, and that's also great. But it just really depends on the student.
Yeah. If they have a situation where they could totally do it, might as well.
Yeah.
Are there people, like you had peers here at St. George that maybe started the program, thought they were going to get a full diploma, and then sort of pulled back?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you see,
That's pretty common.
Quite a bit. Yeah, I had a friend who started the diploma and was on track to get it. Life happens, and he kind of had some family emergency, and because it does take you have to spend a certain amount of time on it. He just kind of realized like I can't push myself to do this right now, but he still got all the certificates and everything. It just depends on, you know, your situation, and like you said, if you have a good reason to stop, like, go ahead.
And I was, yeah,
Pretty common.
and I would suggest if you're on the fence starting it, because there's certain things like the TOK class that you can't decide halfway through that like, oh, I want to do it now. You know what I mean? So like if you start it and you decide that it's not for you, it's easier to stop doing it than to halfway through realize that I didn't meet all these requirements and go back. So I think that,
So we've heard how well it prepares you. We've heard AP, a little bit of AP versus IB. We've heard how, on certain levels, how it gets in. Now tell us the flip side. And maybe it's not your personal experience, but what are the downsides of it? And possibly, what are things that St. George's could improve upon? I mean, we're in the 5th year, going into the 6th year of the IB program, as I understand it. You as students probably saw some stumbling blocks along the way. I'd enjoy hearing what could St. George's improve upon to maybe improve the process.
I know my year, so again, we were the first year to graduate. I remember being told that all of our scores were a little under what they were expecting for us. But as we learned the IB, like teachers learn how to teach the IB, and it just gets better. So that's something that definitely happens. Probably the biggest downside for me is that I didn't get nothing transferred for college credits. And I want to study so much, so it's really hard to fit everything in. But that's just something that's going to take time and people pushing universities to recognize the IB. That's not so much St. George's. That's just something colleges need to do.
Yeah, I think one thing for me, especially like I said, I had to take econ. I realized too late that instead of econ, I could have taken like exercise science and like sports science, which that type of science is something I'm more interested in, and that probably would have been easier. That's a 2-year course, and I didn't realize that until senior year because I was told that it was science, so don't take that, you know. Or econ or bust. So I think, and obviously now there's a lot more options, so you can double history now, and because they want you to double science, but you can double history instead. So now they have like global politics as an option, which would have been fantastic for me, but yeah, so you can take global politics and history instead of, and so I think, you know, obviously like Caroline said, they're growing the times and they're getting more used to IB, but I think at first, you know, kind of like making sure you have all those, like you can weigh all the options, because that would have made it easier for me. I think the teachers you have to are such an important part of IB, because like, yeah, they're pretty, in our class, like everything I was prepared for at IB, like I was just lucky because I think all of my teachers did like a really good job of doing that. I know other classes, I've heard, you know, maybe they didn't feel that way, but I think our class specifically had it.
I think one of the things that like they're getting better and better at each year and is like how to make deadlines for like things like the extended essay to make it more manageable. Because like for me, there wasn't as many deadlines, and I put it off until senior year when I had college applications and other essays to write. But now I think there's a deadline before the summer going into your senior year that you need to have like a draft, and that so like I mean it's not perfect, but the American system is a little different than the UK schooling system, so figuring out how to set deadlines so you can't save it till everything is hitting you at once senior year. But yeah, with the draft, this year is the first year, like the draft before summer, which was so helpful. So I think that, yeah, just figuring out how to put it all into the regular school system, like the regular classes, I think is, and my year was the first year they had the core class where you had a class you could work on your extended essay, and I heard that compared to the class before us where they didn't have any school time specifically to work on the extended essay, help was helpful. Like we met in the library, we met with the librarian to help with our sources, and we had time to go talk to teachers. So I think that every year, I mean, there's still kinks getting worked out, but I think every year, like just figuring out how to make it easier on us is, yeah.
Do you lose out on any other, class options? Like you have to take your IB class, and so that means you're not going to be able to take these at the same time, or anything like that?
I think everything's IB.
Everything.
Now that we have music, everything is like,
Yeah. So
like Caroline would like that. Yeah.
You know, I think for me, I would have been. Yeah, because I loved choir, so I always took choir. So the choir was kind of the reason it made things complicated with econ and stuff. And I wasn't going to quit choir. So senior year, I ended up taking 9 classes because I had choir during lunch and then choir and then, you know, so that was a lot. But I think, you know, as the school grows and stuff and they explore these options, I know sometimes you can take online IB courses and that's cool. I mean, because I've met kids at my school who've done IB, I've heard there's IB film that you can take as an HL, which I think is cool, IB philosophy. So there's all these, you know, stuff, and you can maybe do online or something. But I think as the school grows, as a magnet school, you can see the options kind of grow.
Is there any advice that you shared with our kids earlier today that you haven't shared with us? Because it will not translate.
And she has a voice, so they definitely
So for me, like taking notes on paper, pencil or pen, I prefer pen. But like instead of a computer is really helpful. And also most of the people up
Why
here.
is that helpful? Will you tell them why?
Well, so I live with an educator, and I got pounded into my head that it is scientifically proven that you remember stuff better if you write it on paper. And whether or not that's true, I believe it because otherwise I'm wasting my time. But anyway, like a lot of my classes at Columbia, they don't allow you to take notes on a computer, and then most of the people up here have the same experience. So I just think it's a little fun.
That's really interesting because lower school is all on devices right now. No paper.
Noah's is the only one that he doesn't have any restrictions on that, but everybody else has said that they have restrictions.
lecture, you can use laptops, but they recommend not, because it's just like, you hear the clacking all the time, it distracts. And then seminars, it's too small to use laptops, it's too distracting.
I read that colleges are trending more towards not paper versus paper. So notes are taken more on a laptop or device with a software keyboard. And or some universities are now, colleges and universities are even offering video where you can, since we have phones on our cameras, on our tablets, everything else, where you can tape it and then go in and edit that and transfer that into your own notes. Are you finding that?
I've heard that, but I haven't experienced
But
it.
that feels to me like you're saying, oh, you can skip class. Go ahead and do that
Yeah.
watch the video.
We were not allowed to
Because
record
that's right.
lectures because
Yeah, I don't have any class where I'm allowed to use a computer.
Yeah, I can only use it in my big, like, chemistry lecture, and then in my chemistry lab for graphs and stuff, but.
So the larger classes you're seeing that?
Yeah. lectures.
But other than that, I'm not like allowed to go by laptop out.
My professor, they find that students will just pay attention more if you don't have any devices. And so they don't let you. But no, you can.
Yeah, well, my problem is my laptop, so the little side desks that are like this big, and my laptop's a 15-inch, and getting it on there, I just don't want it to fall, so I just write, and that's only in my lecture halls, which sucks, because that's where I would use it. That's where I take my hand notes, but in like all my other small classes, where we're at like desks or little rolling chairs, I have my laptop out. But I think that's probably just Western because they're not going to want
Do you stray?
Do I what?
Do you stray during class because something pops up on your computer?
Honestly, I'm more distracted in the lectures than I am in my small groups. Because in my English class, I participated a lot. Because that class was actually super interesting, so I wasn't on my computer a lot. But in my seventh class, yes, I was. But yeah, I'm probably more apt to look on my phone during the big lectures than I am in my small groups.
Do you think if you didn't have your computer, you'd still be doodling anyway?
I'd be on my phone.
I
Yeah,
like
I have a kind of practical question that you were sort of alluding to about your credits didn't kind of transfer, because one of the other parents who had a son in the first year was saying that he went to Notre Dame and none of his IB classes transferred, he didn't get any credits. And he was saying that, I might have my son take AP classes because then they will get credits for college. How do you feel about that?
For me, looking back, I kind of wish I had done AP courses too. Like, not AP courses, but taken the
Taking
AP
the
tests. Because my school accepts way more AP test credits. But that's just because they haven't, adjusted.
Right. And if you don't know where your kid is going to be accepted, if they're already taking all these IB courses, should they just take AP tests because they probably have the information?
I'm saying if they have the information and they don't feel stressed about it, might as well. But if it's forcing yourself to do extra work, I don't know.
Because honestly, if I had done that, it could have saved a lot of time in college if I just sat and taken a couple tests.
Because I'm not sure the teachers are encouraging to take both the IB and the AP test. So as a parent.
They are two different tests, so a student I know will have to do a little studying on their own, but teachers are willing to kind of guide them. But yeah, I mean, they're not really saying, go do this because, but it is an option. It's always offered through the public high school. And
So as a parent, should we encourage them to do the AP test so they'll possibly get credit versus not get
if
credit?
you feel it's not, my advice would be, I think I tried to get one of my kids to do that, and they were like, no, so, okay. Because, at that point, I feel like it's kind of you never know what college they're gonna go to, you don't really know.
Right.
Even if they took it, they could get not enough to get credit, so it's a gamble, so I don't know.
It's because Caroline used to be you just want to study so much.
There's
That's
some
why
that-
you wanted credit. And, because I'm not the same way, I like to study a lot of different things, but, some kids know exactly what they want to do, can go straight on that course, especially pre-med or something, and IB can just help you. Maybe you won't get credit, but I think.
Well, I also think that as the years go by, students are going to be getting higher and higher scores. So even though right now colleges have the bar too high, they accept lower AP scores than they accept IB scores, and so that should even out at some point. And so when that happens, that people will be able to get more units. It might happen by the time your children are in college, but.
Well, my son's a junior,
So I also got advice from somebody who had 3 boys go through our school before IB, pre-IB, when it was AP only. And so I was talking to this woman and asking her, should I do this, have my kids take this? And yes, for some gen ed, if you're not interested in it, then it could be okay to test out or whatever. But say Kate had tested out of chemistry, for example, but she's pre-med. So my friend's advice was, you don't want to test out of maybe a chemistry class that you need, like in 101, if that's the track you're going on, because one, you're going to college, at least you'll be in a class where you may not know everything in that class, but you will have a basis, so you'll kind of get eased into the system of that school better than if you test it out and then you're thrown into Chem 201 and then you're like, oh my goodness, did I miss these things from that? Because St. George's Chem and their Chem 101 may not line up. So she was like, that was her advice to me. She said if it's something that they're not going in, maybe in in English or whatever, maybe, but you don't necessarily want to test out of everything.
Is there a pretest?
And that made sense to me.
Would there be a pretest that if you wanted to do both, but you didn't want, say, the AP to hurt, which is kind of what I'm hearing you saying, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Is there a pretest that could kind of indicate where you're at? And I know you had your hand up since you didn't want to hear what you have to say. But is there a pretest where they could see where that's at that is available for a junior to
For the AP or for the
For the
IB?
AP.
Yeah.
There's a lot
You
of
can go
tests
online.
that you can just score and see where you're at. I've heard their print's basically.
I don't know, to be honest.
That would give you a barometer
Yeah.
in case,
A lot of cases, the contests are full AP tests too. It's terrible on those, so when I'm talking to AP, when I'm taking AP contest.
I think also going along with what Elizabeth was saying, for the writing rhetoric class that's required. They just have to go into a more advanced writing class. And so for me, like, I would want to take the easier class, like first semester, to kind of ease into it. So I think that they've gone away from a lot of you. They want everyone to take the gen ed classes. They want everyone to have a history class and a literature class. So I think that even though I didn't get any credit, it would have just put me in a more advanced class. And so it was kind of for me, I didn't lose out on a lot. I would have liked to have some options, but I didn't necessarily. I think at my school, at least, there were some other schools that I applied to that I would have been able to just skip classes altogether. But I think at Notre Dame specifically, like, they've gone away from just skipping. Like, you can't test out of a literature class, you can't test out of a history class. Just go to a more advanced one. So I think that's also something to look
What
at.
about like language? Because my son, I mean, he could take the AP Spanish test and maybe test out of his foreign language requirement in college.
Or he might test into a higher one, and if he's not interested in language, does he want to start at Spanish 301? Or, you know,
Well, I think,
that's kind
I
of,
see where some of the question is probably, let me ask you a question. How many of you are paying your own way through college currently? Okay, part of it, probably from a parent's perspective, is we're investing in a private school. With that, the tuition is high, one of the highest in our state, or Eastern Washington, I should say. So on a return on investment basis, we're looking at IB, and what you were saying is the IB nationally wise, we're not quite there yet. The universities and colleges in the United States aren't seeing that in transferring classes where the AP traditionally, you do get credits, which presents some savings for us, the parents that are paying for the education for our children. And I think am I with you there?
And kind of, but I took AP in high school, so I'm trying to, understand how the IB would compare. And, I took French and then I took the AP, so I didn't have to spend time in college on language. I did all this other science stuff instead, so I could focus that way. So if they do the IB test, say for Spanish, would they have those same benefits?
Depends on the
I mean,
semester.
it does depend, but you can like test out of things. I went and just like took an online test and I got to school and I didn't have to take some classes. But I would say two things. One, I do think that colleges are beginning to accept online classes, so it's going to give you more return on your investment at some point. Maybe not soon enough, but at some point. And two, I got a lot of scholarship money, which is because I must have been part of that. Like, I'm an honor student, and you get a hefty merit scholarship because of that and some other stuff. But
Do people look at all of, it was kind of a big deal when I got done in 4 years. People were like, oh, nobody gets a degree in 4 years, but we had credit going in and you start as like a late freshman or early sophomore. Do most people get done in 4 years?
I think
Get your degree?
now most people get done in 4 years regardless.
I mean, again, it also depends on the school. I have a friend who's going to graduate like after their either second semester sophomore year, first semester junior year, because they did so many IB requirements and they got so much credit from IB that they're that much ahead of the game. So again, it depends on the school. I know a lot of because he's in Iowa or somewhere.
But in the U.S. right now, even if you're not getting credit for your IB and starting
4 years
as a sophomore or something, you're still getting that in 4 years.
Yeah,
For
for
sure.
sure.
Even if you get AP credit, like everyone enters at this at Notre Dame, everyone enters. Like, you don't have, like, the AP credit that I could have gotten wouldn't have put me ahead in school. It would have just put me in more advanced classes. So for what you're saying,
So
like,
you would have graduated in 3 years
I
instead
wouldn't
of
have
4
skipped
starts.
any classes, so I wouldn't have
And you would have
saved.
saved it.
Yeah, I wouldn't
So
have
you just
saved-
started at a higher
I would
level.
have just, instead of taking the first writing rhetoric, I would have taken advanced writing rhetoric. So I wouldn't have gotten out of any classes.
So you're not saving a year of tuition.
I would have saved.
So we had a student that went to Wittenberg, Erin Armitage, who actually was an IB diploma candidate, came in as a sophomore. She would have graduated.
I would have graduated like a semester, maybe a semester and a half, but probably a semester early, but she took a semester off for medical reasons, so now she's going to graduate on time.
And Maddie, you got 10 credits, right? So how'd that work for you in terms of, you're only a sophomore, but.
Oh, like I just didn't have to take as many like gen eds or smaller classes that I needed to get into pharmacy school, so I just kind of had to take the main ones I needed. And so it helped me not to have to worry about smaller classes. So,
Can you just talk a little bit about your school, your program, because it's kind of a specialized program?
yeah, so the pharmacy school at University of Montana is 2 years undergraduate and then 4 years graduate. So I got accepted, so now I'm just finishing off my undergraduate this spring, and then I'll have my 4 years in pharmacy school coming up next year. So the 10 credits did help me to stay on top and be a little bit ahead.
How many of you were accepted to your first choice as far as you had probably one of 3 to 5 universities or colleges that you were working with?
I didn't have any top choice.
You didn't have a top
And I would
choice?
recommend not having a top choice.
Well, going to my next question is, how much do you think the IB program played a part in getting over to that? Getting into, not getting ground running, but getting into that college that you were hoping for, applying to?
Assuming if I hadn't done IB, I would have done AP, or
No, not necessarily. I mean, you can speak to that too if you want, because that definitely applies.
I think it definitely helps. Like Elizabeth was saying earlier, that if you're going for the IB diploma, the colleges can see that you're doing the most rigorous program at the school, and that's definitely something they look at. And yeah, I mean,
I was genuinely,
stand out.
like, Fordham was my dream school. I'm not even there now. But I was genuinely did not think I was going to get in because of like my past grades and stuff and just the econ and everything. And not only did I get in, but they gave me really good scholarship. And so I was not expecting to get any scholarship or anything from that school. And even though I didn't end up going there because I thought it was my dream school, but I guess it wasn't. But I was just so shocked. In my acceptance letter, they kind of mentioned the variety thing that I talked about earlier that IB really gives you. And I think that was the biggest part of getting into that school for me.
I also think it's just a differentiator because there's so many people that will apply to top schools and you're looking for a way to kind of stand out, and there's a lot of people that take AP classes, and so like the IB program just kind of offers something. It's unique, it's different, and it's very different from an AP program, and so I think that's just something that if you are a candidate, like the schools know what that entails, and so it kind of is a way to separate yourself from a lot of very good students.
Especially in Spokane, because so a lot of IB students back home,
Yeah.
it's been a big thing. You're one of the only IB students, but you're from somewhere completely different from the classic East Coast boarding school kids that they look at. They're going to choose you over those students.
Yeah, and you're already, like, talking to the value you're talking about, you're already paying for your kid to go arguably to one of the best schools in Washington, or best schools in Eastern Washington, education-wise. So you already have that one step ahead of everybody else. And then you put the IB on top of that, you're just adding on to what like your package deal. Because I mean, when you think about it, so even like me, just going to St. George's already, I think the GPA to get into Western was like, the baseline was like a 3.2, at St. George's was like at St. George's was like a 2.9. That's what the acceptance rate, because we have a thing that you can track like what St. George's students got in and what GPA and test scores they had. So like, we're definitely getting held at a different standard just coming from St. George's, and then applying that IB diploma, then that lets them know that you took the highest, the most rigorous course at a rigorous school. So that in itself, again, is putting you at that level above any other kid that would apply to that top school. So I mean, I get the most bang for your buck if that's what we're talking about.
And I have to say, monetarily, like Kate got a lot of scholarship. We actually thought we weren't going to be able to send her there because I was like, not going to get anything. I've always heard that Wake Forest doesn't give much scholarship. And she's heard that from her friends sat around and were like, they don't give much scholarship here. And we were like, well, she got a lot. I mean, I really think that had to do partly because we're Pacific Northwest going to North Carolina, but also, I mean, the IB curriculum, I honestly feel. I mean, I know I'm the coordinator, but I would say that if I were not the coordinator.
I understood.
I was gonna say, is there somewhere we can log
I
on?
don't know, but a lot of my friends who were also honor students also did the IB program.
Also, kind of going off that, the extended essay is something I think is pretty unique and like not a lot of people have that experience. And I know I wrote a lot about it. I knew people in my class who actually submitted their extended essay. It's like, here, look at this is because it's a lot of work and it's something you're really proud of at the end of it. It shows how much effort you put into it. And so I know people who submitted it along with their application. I know I wrote about all of the work and of the experience that I gained from it. And so I think that along with that, that's something else that I can give you because that's not a lot of people have that experience, that big, large research paper. And so
That's a good point. A lot of that college applications will be like, do you have anything else, any type of work you want to show? And the extended essay is a great way to just, or even one of your IAs, is just like a great way to just show, you know, all this work you're doing for the IB. I sent my EE because I was doing it for some schools as part of a lot of my applications.
I know some of you have to go since it's time anyway, take kids, so if you have to go, you can go. I don't know if they're, you know.
Wait, is there one last question
Yeah.
that anybody hasn't had a chance to ask?
Yeah.
Question, and interpret it however you like, 'cause I'm not sure really what I'm asking, except that apart from, you know, how many credits you were able to shave off and the logistical pieces of your IB, how, I mean, we feel about how it's more holistic, and I see my sons kind of overlapping assignments from different subjects. So how does it shape your view as you head out into the world, sort of as a person, as a person who thinks in that holistic way?
I mean, I think that it definitely helped my like, critical thinking, and just like being able, I don't know. I think critical thinking is just such an important thing when you're analyzing like issues in the world and like how they affect other people. I mean, I just think that I don't want to say it's helping me be a better person because that sounds like I'm the son of the but I just think that it's helped me. I think I'm a better learner because of the idea and like how it connects things, just how I think about stuff.
The way you approach stuff more.
Yeah.
It taught me to maybe not always approach something your best at, but what you find interesting, even if it's not something you thought your best at. You know, I always thought I was the best in history, so I was going to major in history, and now I'm majoring in media and comparative literature because I'm just so much more interested in that. And kind of like you get, you know, it allows you to do that more. It allows you to explore what you're interested in and explore things you never thought you would. And I think that's important.
I think it does encourage you to think more like interdivisionally, see across the lines between subjects, and just take everything in as one. You're learning about a bunch of different things in the same world, and they're not separated. And when you said holistic, I definitely agree with that.
I would agree with that too, and especially just like being able to like take a subject and like use it to help you in another subject. Because I took Spanish and history this semester at college, and the history was over Central Americas, and so I could like use those to overlap each other. Like we talked about like the language in my history class, and we talked about the history in my Spanish class. So it was like cool to like see like the items coming together and like overlapping at college.
yeah, I think so I wrote my math, which is like a math paper on an algorithm thing that's used in finance, which I kind of found that would be interesting, and then I used in my extended essay, I used like kind of a similar algorithm but in biology, and so I was able to kind of pull from all that, and I kind of saw that in my college classes, like especially econ, you're taking from, it's like you're talking about so many different things in the world and being able to pull from different aspects and not just thinking like strictly in math, like how does math apply to finance or biology, and so I think that you know, you just have a much better appreciation for how everything comes together.
Yeah, I took a course like at Western Alpha for first year freshman. It's called FIG. And so what it is since my major of choice or focus was business management and finances, we took an environmental science class and a communications class, and then we had a seminar class called, it was Entrepreneurship and Innovation. And so it was, how does environmental science, like knowing what goes around in the world, and how does improving your speaking, like how to communicate, how does that all tie into like entrepreneurship and like innovating yourself and like business-wise? So it was really cool to see, like, I would have never taken an environmental science class and a communications class together and put together that, like, that those two heavily rely on each other. Before I would have just thought nothing of it, but since, I mean, if there's a this program, it's kind of like, dang, it's kind of what the whole point was.
Manny, last word?
Yeah, just helped me definitely with time management and just helped me to be more rounded. And I don't really enjoy history, but I did enjoy some aspects of it actually. So it did just help me to be more rounded.
Thank you.
If you have other questions, they can stick around. Thank you all for coming, and definitely if you have other questions for the panel or
Questions are coming back. Okay, we'll take you to lunch.